about IT skills. Um, for those of you who've noticed, my program is started a little bit later than the 4 o'clock published time, and it's due to the way Azan has fallen today. So Azan means that we had to have an extended break. So just a reminder about how I work, how I'm working this year. I will be taking calls if anybody wants to call me in our studio. That call number is 01902 972 150. You can also send me a WhatsApp message, and that WhatsApp number is 07440 420 430. So, welcome any calls. We have about 16 minutes left of this show, but I'll be back next Monday, 4 o'clock for an hour, and then we can carry on any conversations that we need to have uh, on that occasion. As a reminder, um, if you live around the Wolverhampton area, you can come and see me at one of four libraries. On a Tuesday, I'll be at the Wensfield Library from 10:30 till 12:30, possibly a little bit later as well if need be. And then at the Warstones Library from 2:30 till 4:30. Again, I might be there about 15 minutes later if anybody still wants my help. On a Wednesday, you can find me at the Bob Jones Community Hub, which has the Blakenhall Library in it, and you can also meet me at Whitmore's Library from 2:30 till 4:30. Those are all drop-in sessions. They're becoming quite popular. So if you just come along, it's all free, the support I provide, to do with, again, IT. And you can ask me anything you like because, as I say, I'm a volunteer. If I know the answer, I'll help you as much as I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll simply tell you I don't know the answer. But I might be able to research it for you for the future. So that's the background to me. Right, so today's show, I'm going to start off the way I always start off. Passwords, passwords, passwords. So many times I get people coming to the libraries and they want whatever they want done. And I say, oh, well, you're going to need your password for that. And they say, oh, I don't know my password. Um, and if you don't have a second way of proving who you are, then you may not get your password back. So these days it's called multi-factor authentication. So quite often if you want to get into a system and you've forgotten your password, it won't just let you reset your password because it doesn't know who you are, because you haven't logged in with your password. So that's when quite often they might ask you to send back a code sent to your phone. So if you're lucky and you've set that up, great, fantastic. If you've lost your phone, which is a story I told about on my previous show, then you may have a real big problem. There might not be any way of getting your system restored. Okay, so I say that I'm going to say that every show because I keep getting these. Make sure you know the password for all the systems that you want to get back into if you ever forget your password, and write it down in an obscure way, so that if you do lose that piece of paper, nobody else will know what it is. And then, as I say, always have another method of authenticating yourself, such as a different email address. So rather than the one that is your main email address. So passwords, 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 very, very important. I'm going to say this on the beginning of every single show. Um, During the last show, I started talking about storage because we had a lady who had so many photos on her iPhone that um, the iPhone was saying, "Oh, you've got more photos than you've got iCloud storage. You must buy some more. You must buy some more. You must buy some more," because they're not being backed up. Now, in her case, the iPhone did not stop her from taking more photographs because the storage in an iPhone was obviously a lot bigger than the the cloud storage that Apple give you for free. So in her case, what she did was she bought some USB sticks, and um, we managed to copy about half of all her photos, because even that took 2 hours. And I'll probably see her again next week, and we'll try and copy off the rest of them. But that is one way of saving your photos. Now, today I'm going to talk about cloud storage. Okay, I've already begun to mention it, that if you have an iPhone, that you automatically get a certain amount of storage that your photos get backed up to, that your emails get backed up to. But as I say, it's very, very easy to fill that storage up. Um, so the question is, are there any other ways? Now, if you've also got a Gmail account, an account with Google, that gives you some free storage. And also, if you have an account with Microsoft, um, you get some free storage. OneDrive is the name of the storage that you get with your Microsoft account, and G Drive is the name of the storage that you get free with Google. Um, in my case, because I've bought a subscription for Microsoft Office 365, which is the new way of accessing your Microsoft information. So if you have emails from Microsoft, if you want to use Word documents, if you want to use PowerPoint um, presentations, if you want to use Excel, then these tools are all available through a subscription. It only costs a few pounds per month, or if you opt for the yearly version, that's, I believe, around about £100 or so this year. But you can also buy a family version, which is a bit more expensive. But with the family version, you will get 1 terabyte of backup storage. Okay, 1 terabyte. So a terabyte is 1000 gigabytes, and that's quite a lot of storage that in effect you're paying for, but is available to you. And that is a little bit like if you've got an iPhone and you're being asked to purchase extra storage. So that's going to cost you money. I don't know off the top of my head the cost of Apple storage. I'm not really an Apple user, but you pay for extra storage. That's what they'd like you to do. But if you can manage yourself using USB sticks, etc., then that is a way of saving money. In my case, I wanted the tools for Microsoft. I don't actually work anymore. I'm entirely a volunteer, and therefore I don't have access to the Microsoft tools as I used to when I was working. So I bought my own subscription, and it's you could pay monthly, but I've just paid for a year. I've got at least 2 phones that I can use it on, and I've got several computers and member of my family, my daughter, in fact, she has one of the subscriptions, so she doesn't have to pay. And in my case, I think you can get up to 5 people on board for no extra purchase. So with Microsoft, as I say, you can buy effectively the tooling that in the old days you would have had to purchase as a one-off subscription. And in fact, that subscription would only last you until, well, it would last you forever, but you would never get updated. So if you buy some version of any of the Microsoft tools, eventually they will become unsupported. The beauty of having a subscription with Microsoft Office 365 is that it's always the latest version. So you don't need to upgrade, but you do need to continue paying on a monthly basis or continue paying on a yearly basis. Now, over the years, there have been alternatives for buying storage. There were so many, in fact, that I don't know them all off the top of my head, but I will talk about one particular type of storage, and that's called Dropbox. So again, I'm not being paid for any of this, but Dropbox is what I personally use. Dropbox, there's a free version of it, and there's a paid versions as well where you can get a lot more storage. So there are many um, places to get free storage from. But the main players, as I say, um, for phones, for mobile phones, are your Microsoft OneDrive, your Google G Drive, and your Apple iCloud storage. And then in my case, I use something called Dropbox. And the good thing about Dropbox is it will synchronize with your laptop. So if you've got a laptop, a Windows laptop, you can get a desktop version of Dropbox, and it looks like a folder, like a hard drive on your computer. And the good thing about that is you can double click on any file that is recognized. So, for example, if you double click on a music file, it'll open up your music player, play that. If you open up a document file, a docx, for example, it'll open up your word processor as long as you've got one on your computer, and PowerPoint and Excel and so on. So Dropbox I've found to be great. I've had it for many years. I've never paid for it, but you get a certain amount of storage, and I've never filled it because I don't really keep photographs. I don't keep media, as in videos or anything else, in my Dropbox account. I use it for files. So being an IT specialist, I have to learn so many things. I can't remember them all. So I'll make some notes. I'll write a little document as a reminder of what I need. Give it a sensible name. Put it in a sensible named folder. Sometimes I have several layers of folders. So you can think of folders for those people who don't really understand the hierarchy. You can think of a room full of cabinets. You can think of the cabinets full of drawers, and the drawers full of paper folders. So that's like a hierarchy of storage. And anybody who's worked in an office will understand that excuse me, if you know where your data is supposed to be, you can go to it. And as I say, if you've got masses and masses and masses of data, which I've been collecting over 40 years, I've got so much data, I have to have a really sensible storage system, naming system. And as I say, I didn't really talk about this in my previous show, but back in the old days, we used to have floppy disks. I don't know if anybody remembers floppy disks. Floppy disks go back for many years. For most people, you might remember what we call the 3.5-inch diskette. It wasn't. It was the first that wasn't actually floppy because it was inside a container. So anybody who remembers cassettes, music cassettes, if you had a Sony Walkman, if you used to listen to Indian music in the 80s, you probably, well, you may not have bought a record, a piece of vinyl. You may have just bought a cassette, and you put it into your cassette player. That was one way of storing data a long time ago. But the floppy disk, again, it's not floppy, but it could store about 1 megabyte, 1 million bytes of data. After that, we got CDs, okay, little shiny discs, CDs, and they could store about 670 megabytes. So you could store a good few photographs of that time. And the good thing about the bad thing about magnetic data was that if anybody remembers televisions of the old days with the big back, what we call the CRT, cathode ray tubes, you put your cassettes on top of your TV, and the magnetic fields that come out would wipe out all your data if you didn't know what you were doing. And some people had their magnetic media, so their floppy disks, their cassettes, and suddenly there was no data left on them because they'd basically just used a huge magnet, which is what the back of a TV is, a huge magnet, to wipe out their data. CDs were the first thing that came along that were not magnetic. They were based on a piece of metal, and you burn spots into it. Okay, you won't see that. They're burnt with a laser inside the disk drive of your computer. Then after that, we got Blu-ray. So Blu-ray was the sorry. After that, we got DVDs, which you could store even more data on. And then after that, we got Blu-ray, which is even more than that. And as I say, last time I was talking about USB. So USB, in a way, is the latest for you to keep. You can store your data on a USB drive, and you can keep it. However, the subscription models. So if you cancel your iPhone, if you cancel your Android, if you cancel your Microsoft account, you've suddenly lost all that data, which is the kind of world we're living in these days. They don't want you to buy anything and keep it. They want you to subscribe to it, pay monthly or pay yearly, whatever. So that's what they want you to do these days. But as I say, you don't have to do that. You can still buy music and save it on your own devices. We've only got about a minute and a half left. I've noticed that nobody's phoned through. Nobody sent me a WhatsApp message. So I'm just going to, as I said, we've only got a minute and a half. I'm not going to change topics now. So yeah, I've talked about storage, and I probably won't talk about storage again next time. We'll pick on the topics that people ask me about in libraries, and if there's nothing interesting that anybody's asked me about, then I will start talking about a new topic that I haven't talked about before. So, for example, people ask me about how do I get the NHS app on my phone. It's quite easy. I'll talk about that next time. How do I order medicines? How do I put icons on my phone? That was a question I got asked only yesterday. The lady came in and she says, "Oh, I want this icon on my home page," and it was such an simple task. But as I say, the lady wasn't um, entirely sure about how to do it. Plus, she was very, very cautious. So she may well have, in her mind, she may well have broken things, and it's not always the case. You can break things, but phones and IT's mostly safe as long as you check with somebody first. Yeah. As I say, in most cases, you're unlikely to break anything. So I've only got a few seconds left. So I hope to see you on Monday for my 4 o'clock show.